Hi guys, Bart the Nature Guy here. It is just a funny moment in the creation of these videos. I have been trying to make a video a couple different times, and I've had to wait things out. Every time I step outside, I've had car doors slam and people talking. I've had big work trucks pull up next to me and with like big diesel engines and like stop to have lunch and keep the truck rolling just as I'm getting ready to go. I have just recently had like a tow truck or a plow truck come up, and every time it backed up it would have this beeping sound, and I'd think it would go away and then it would come back again. It's probably going to come back. The way things are going today, I was like, I got to bring this indoors, and I didn't want to today. It's fine. The weather has turned. We're out of our kind of that super chilly cold that we had is over. We're actually kind of in a melt right now, which is super fun to be around. I really encourage you to get that chance to get some fresh air. I think we've been pretty locked up for a while, so I'm super excited to see the weather kind of improve a little bit here as we're talking. So, but we're kind of moving away from the planned organization around backpacking and kind of moving into more like when things don't go well, which is kind of like why I kind of decided to talk about things not going well with my video today. Kind of fits the theme. Like I had this plan and it just went whoop, it was out the window. My timing was all off. Things were definitely kind of disrupting the sound quality of the video, and I was like, I gotta do something different. And so that's kind of the same thing in regards to when we get into more survival stuff. It's kind of like acknowledging when that occurs. One of the things that can really be the most detrimental for somebody is actually where their ego's telling them like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and it's not fine. And so they can really, like, the biggest thing with like not getting, like, don't make the problem bigger, and don't get like yourself, if you're lost in the woods, like, don't get yourself more lost. Like, you have to slow this process down. But again, it's also understanding what's happening to us at that time. So we have our autonomic, nervous system. That's like our heartbeat and our chest, like it's our lungs. Like when we're sleeping and not conscious, it's all working. And so it's an amazing system in and of itself. And it's that kind of just automatic things that happen in our body that keep our systems rolling. And those things can actually change depending on a couple different things. When we're in our parasympathetic nervous system, our creative juices are flowing. Our heart rate's dropping. We're relaxed. We're thinking about things like for backpacking and planning. Like I get super excited. I think about like, well, what kind of food, or even just any sort of trip. I like thinking about like laying out the clothes. I was just recently in UP, and I get kind of jacked up, like excited to like for that trip. And I started thinking about like, what will I be doing? Last week I was able to like get really creative, and I found that mountain. If you guys remember, I was at the I did one of my nature videos from the kind of the top. I won't call it a mountain. It's the UP of Michigan. It's not like the Rockies, but the top of a peak, maybe we'll call it. Right, looking over Lake Superior, the South Shore of Lake Superior. Just beautiful location. I was kind of thinking about, I was looking at these maps and like, where can I go? What can I find? How can I make this work for being kind of remote last week? And super fun. Everything worked well. I was looking at trail maps and everything was flowing, and so I'm in my parasympathetic nervous system. I'm in my groove, and at the same time, later as a part of that trip, I went on a kind of a late afternoon cross-country ski run, and so, but it was later in the afternoon. It was like, maybe 3:30ish, and I wasn't expecting to do. I was looking to go maybe six miles or so on cross-country skis, and I got to a spot, and as I'm pulling up at 3:30, most people are leaving, and what I started to realize is that once I got out there ways, I'm like, oh, this will be exciting. I got some more difficult trails. Like the trails had different colors for different degrees of difficulty on cross-country skis. I'm like, oh, I'm going to push it a little bit today, and I came down a little slope on that cross-country ski trail, and I saw like a place where somebody in the snow next to the trail had fallen over, and all of a sudden everything just shifted for me, and it was like, oh, I could fall. And I hadn't thought about it on the trip, and I realized I usually will bring like that little fanny pack. I actually think I have it here. Just kind of offhand, it's sitting kind of underneath my feet here. I almost will always bring this anywhere I go. I'll throw it over my shoulder, like like this even. And carry it almost like you'll see like a messenger bag style. I might put it around my waist and wear it pretty traditional, but there's a lot of stuff in here. There's ways to start fire, there's heat sources, there's headlamps, a little bit of extra calorie food. It's something I always bring. And so I just need you guys to know, like, I always encourage people to bring this, because what happened to me is I realized I was actually in a pretty bad spot. I was in a location that I didn't know very well. I was in the UP of Michigan, which is basically, you know, I went up to Duluth, and I took a right-hand turn on the south shore of Lake Superior, and was in the car for another solid 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours. So it was a long ways out. I had driven out of the town I was in, so I was, and these aren't big towns, these are small towns. So I drove about 10 miles out of town, out of what is already a small town. So I'm in kind of the forested version of the UP. I'm unclear totally of exactly where I am. I have my phone and stuff, and so I have maps on there, so I'm pretty confident. But I started to realize if I fell and my phone got broke, and it's starting to get dark because it was 3:30, and it actually like set me off. It was kind of like, whoa, it's kind of that same system like where you're driving along, you know, and all of a sudden you like see like an ambulance, like ambulance lights coming up from behind you, or police officer lights coming up behind you. They're not really coming for you, but you're also like, what did I do? Like your whole system changes from like chilling out and driving and having fun listening to your tunes to, whoa, like, and your system shifts. And all of a sudden I had one of those system shifts, and I realized I have to be really smart. And I felt that like, you got to get out of here. It was almost like a little bit of a moment of panic. It was kind of in that all of a sudden you're starting to engage that fight, flight, or freeze response of your sympathetic nervous system. So we have our parasympathetic nervous system on one side, and on the other side we have our sympathetic nervous system, which is like, you know, and if you have that kind of fight response, you're like, no, I'm not quitting. I'm just going to keep going and just charge forward. Mine was like, you know what, it's getting dark, and I really was like, stop. And I actually stopped skiing, and I took out my phone and looked at my map, and I really tried to memorize it. Like, if something happens, I need to have this in my head pretty well. And I really looked at my map and said, okay, I need to take like 2 left turns here and kind of turn myself back around. And instead of going towards those more difficult trails that I was really looking forward to, at that point I said, it's getting dark. I'm in a spot I don't know very well. And everybody that was kind of like ending their day because it's getting towards sunset. So people that had come out there weren't a lot of people showing up to this spot when I arrived. It was much more the feeling of people leaving. And so I'm like, I don't know if somebody's going to come on this trail or not. And I'm also in the UP of Michigan, which has a pretty low, the population isn't very high in the first place. So there's not a lot of people showing up there to cross country ski. It's mostly local folks. And so I was like, I probably need to find my way back out. And so I actually chose a couple trails that were like the easiest, the flattest, no hills, nothing that could cause me any kind of concern in regards to like taking a big fall. It doesn't mean I might not get injured, but I was trying to minimize at that point. And so, and I was looking around, looking at the sunset, going, none of this is good. And so I used a system called S.T.O.P, which is, number one, I stopped myself. I didn't keep going and push through. And so that's the S part of it, right? It just stop. And there's lots of people that teach this acronym. So this is nothing special or unique to me. The S.T.O.P acronym is used throughout kind of survival, first aid, all that stuff. So you stop, right? Some people even tell you, like, get on your butt, sit down. Use the S to sit and stop. Like, don't move. Get a plan. Get your breath back, especially when you get that heightened sense of like, oh, crap, something's happening. So get that settled in, you know. So you settle yourself in. That's what I did. I actually stopped skiing, said I have to kind of reassess here what's going on. So I started to think, right? That's the T. So now you got to think about what's happening here. What are the things, and the next one is observe. Like, start looking around. Start thinking like, I could possibly be putting myself in a bad situation here if I keep going without processing what I'm actually choosing to do at this point. I'm making choices here, and I can either make choices to help my situation or possibly make it worse. And you know, it's a wintertime situation. The cold is going to come. Also with cross-country skiing, and I'm a person that sweats a lot, I'm going to be really pretty much wet with sweat, and I'm going to chill off really fast. And that's something I recognized, is that as soon as I stopped, I could actually feel some of the moisture on my neck actually start to get cold from the outside cold. Once I stopped moving, I felt that breeze coming in. I was like, I have a real strong chance of hypothermia in this weather. So I started to think, what are all my options here? And then I started to observe, what is my plan? And that's when I got that phone out and I started to make my plan. Stop. So it's stop moving, start thinking, T, observe your surroundings and see what you can then create a plan. And it also re-engages a little bit of your creativity of like, what is the plan? And that re-engages your parasympathetic nervous system and helps you start to get creative and work your way out of it. And it's staying confident within that as well. So, and that kind of moves into the other piece of this kind of opening phase as we get into wilderness survival stuff in the classes, which is the survival by the 3's. And so it's real simple. We can go 3 weeks without food. It's not going to feel good, but it definitely, and most people will really struggle. Even after a couple days, you'll start to get pains and whatnot. And I've never been in that situation myself, so I'm speaking of something I have not experienced. And so in these arenas, so 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water. So water is a huge piece to how we're made out of water. You know, like 60 to 70% of our body is made out of water. It's something that is absolutely vital for us to start functioning. Lots of headaches will come without water. So the downside of being like in the winter situation I was just describing, you know, water is always, if it's moving, it's 32 degrees, you know, and if you see a stream, it's mobile. If you see open water, it's 32 degrees or higher because it's not frozen. The hard part with like ingesting snow, let's say in my situation, is that snow is as cold as the outside air. So if it is 10 below zero and you're grabbing snow that's 10 below zero and putting it in your body, that's going to start lowering your core body temperature a little bit. So you're going to want to find, if you have a water bottle or whatnot, try to heat that up, keep it inside your coat, keep it warm next to you so you're not trying to fight the cold and bring that temperature back up so quickly. So 3 days without water, 3 hours without shelter. If you get dropped in this situation like I was, I would be in a lot of hurt. If I was out there for 3 hours, I had no light, no heat source, I was cold and damp. And fire can be shelter. So in that situation, if I was able to build a fire, I'm protecting myself from the elements. So it doesn't have to be a traditional shelter design. And in our classes, we'll kind of go through those different shelter designs. And if I get on site here soon, which it sounds like a lot of your classes are coming back online as far as being in person again, hopefully I will be a part of that and we can start looking at building shelters. Whether it be in the snow, because we still have a little bit of winter left. Not a lot of snow, but we can definitely work on that. And then also just traditional kind of survival shelters going forward. So 3 hours without shelter, 3 minutes. 3 minutes without air. After that, you might not be that good. 3 minutes without any sort of air. Submergence, if people are underwater for 3 minutes, if their airways cut off for 3 minutes for any reason, they might be revived, but sometimes people's systems start up good when they get that oxygen flowing back to their brain well, and some people it doesn't come back well, and that could be way too long for some people as well. So some people might not come back from being no air for 3 minutes. Might not, that person might pass away. So so 3 minutes without air, and 3 seconds, and kind of one of the biggest ones, which is 3 seconds without hope. And so it's believing and knowing that you can make it through, and having hope and having confidence in what you've learned. So so it's always keeping a mindset of hope. And then when they look back at people that have survived very harrowing stories of being in lost or alone for long periods of time, they just never gave up hope. And almost every one of them will talk about that key component of just never giving up. And you know, that's part of the reason why, like back in December when I jumped on the ice, it's like showing you all that was important, because I want you to, if something like that were to happen, you were walking through over some ice and it broke through, I want you to know that you can do it, and know that you have an example of what that can look like for yourself, and watch the reaction. So when you have that reaction, you know that's a normal reaction. And so that's why, as we're getting into this kind of more wilderness survival stuff, we were kind of going forward to a little bit bigger picture of what can we all know if we get into that situation, and so we can keep that parasympathetic nervous system moving forward, the creativity, how do we get ourselves out of this, what do we do, and so we're not so engaged for so long in that fight, flight, or freeze moment. I think we'll all have that at certain levels, at certain degrees, and we're all going to be different. So a group of people kind of realizing that they're lost, let's say in the woods, and the trail that they thought was a trail that turned out to be some sort of animal trail, and then it just ends, and they're like, we're not where we thought we were. And that group is going to have a variety of different reactions, because all of us have grown up in different ways. We have different life experiences, and all those are going to play into how our sympathetic nervous system gets engaged in a moment of an acute moment of trauma, which is like being lost and realizing it. So, but one of the biggest things again is also taking your ego out of it and knowing, okay, now we are lost, or we are in trouble, or I am sick. I'm not feeling well right now. So all those things will start to play into how do we move through times of survival in a way that will be optimize what our options are, and see what we can do. So that's it for today. I'm going to provide a nature video as well this week, so please look forward to that as well. As things are melting, it might be a little bit of a theme of that nature video this week as we start to enter that early stages of spring here, as we kind of take a few steps closer to March. So Bart the Nature Guy, and we'll get much more into this as we go on. So kind of engaging our nervous systems, understanding what's happening there, looking at those survival in 3's, and then the acronym STOP. Stop, think, observe, and plan, and looking at all those things. So take care, everybody. Bart the Nature Guy. Peace out. Talk to you soon. Hopefully see you in person, even in, I don't know, next couple weeks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.